From the Western Mass News studios in Springfield, this is Western Mass News Getting Answers with Dave Mattson.
Thanks for joining me for this week's edition of Western Mass News Getting Answers. Each and every week, I'm joined by political and business leaders and other newsmakers to talk about the issues that impact you. A great show this week. We're going to talk about hockey, and we're talking about that with the president of the Springfield Thunderbirds, Nathan Costa. Nathan, they return to the ice at the Mass Mutual Center on Saturday, October 16th, for the first time in nearly 10 months. Time permitting, we're going to focus on the impact of COVID on the team, how it's brought minor league hockey to a new level in Springfield, and we look ahead to the 2021-22 season. Nathan, good to see you.
Good to see you.
What was I reading this morning, like 570 days without a game?
I think on Saturday, October 16th, it'll be 587 days since the last game we had. Yep.
That's remarkable. Now, you were quoted as saying that the upcoming season is not only one the team needs, but one the city needs too.
Yeah, it's been a long year and a half, right? Things were at an all-time high back in 2020 when we unfortunately had to shut things down. And you know, I think we're a huge economic driver, obviously, for the city and downtown Springfield specifically. All the restaurants and bars, they're always packed on our game nights. And I think just in general, I think we feel like we're the heartbeat of our city, and to get back on the ice, I think it will hopefully catapult a lot of activity downtown. I think it's a really great thing.
The team shut down, as did many things, we say in March of 2020. And last season, the Thunderbirds were one of 3 teams in the AHL that opted out of the season. That had to be a tough decision. As you mentioned, you know, the fact that the franchise was really hitting its stride.
Yeah, it was, I think the only word I could say is gut-wrenching for making that type of decision. At the end of the day, we never would want to sit out of a season. I don't think there was, in 85 years, it was the first season there wasn't hockey other than one of the wars, I believe, since the last time. So it wasn't a decision that we made lightly. We went down every avenue to try to play. Unfortunately, at the time, like, we weren't going to be able to have fans in the stands, and that's what drives revenue at the end of the day. So working with our new partner, the St. Louis Blues, they understood the challenges we were facing, and they were supportive all the way. And we went down every avenue, but it just didn't make any sense for the business. And so we had a long-term view of this. That was a decision that the ownership and I made together, that we want to have, you know, a long-term successful run here in Springfield. And to do that, we needed to make prudent decisions off the ice, and that was the decision we had to make.
You know, it's funny. I mean, obviously the team wasn't playing, but the Thunderbirds were still a visible presence during the pandemic. How did you manage, and the things that you did to keep the franchise relevant during without playing any games?
Well, it's something that we do all the time, right? We take a lot of pride in being a pillar in the community and getting out, and especially when we have players here, we try to get to as many events as possible, but we also try to use our mascot every way we could. So that was the one thing that we made an important we really focused on, really, was making sure that, obviously, you got to do things safely, right? So at the beginning of the pandemic there, we didn't do very much, and it was really challenging. But once we got through that initial 2 months, we really started to work with our partners in the community that, you know, were on the front lines, and we wanted to say thank you. Like, that was the biggest part for us. A number of our sponsors stepped up to help us do some of that stuff. Mass Mutual was one, the Springfield Business Improvement District was one, the Mass Lottery. So those 3 really helped. So we were providing meals to frontline workers at both of the hospitals here locally, and then really kind of extending our tentacles. Like, we had a lot of business and restaurant partners too, so we wanted to support them as well. So, you know, it was kind of like a double whammy piece there. But it was really all we could do to stay visible. So our front office staff was focused on that, and you know, for me, I just wanted to stay visible. You know, I think that's the one thing. If you don't stay visible, you kind of become forgotten. So for us, you know, selfishly too, like, you got to get out there and you got to do things. And that was the mentality really behind it. Was just trying to do as much as we could to make as much of an impact during a time that was really challenging.
You know, we see what's up front, you know, as far as the fact that no games were played, but what kind of an impact overall did COVID have on the team and on the Thunderbirds as a business, your staff? I mean, we don't often think about that. That's an important element of everything you do every day.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, you know, the stuff that's closest to me personally. Obviously, we've had people that are on our staff from the very beginning, you know, going back 6 years ago when we bought this franchise. And there were people, like I had said before, We were on cloud nine really when this thing came crashing down. We had a sellout on September or March 7th. I keep saying September, but it was March 7th. It was our Pink in the Rink night, one of our biggest nights. Was just before things came crashing down. And so we were, as a group, we were on cloud nine. Then all of a sudden COVID happened and we had to make really tough decisions when it comes to furloughing some staff that had been there from the start, and none of it was our fault. Like, I think that was the hardest part of all of it, was telling people that, you know, that they wouldn't have a job, was really, really hard. But we knew it was important to do that. So we, just like any business, we had to find the way to make, you know, get ourselves through it. But the positive piece of it was we were able to keep a real core group of guys together and gals together. So we had about 10 people throughout the pandemic still employed. Those were my department heads, and we continued to focus on doing what we could do, continuing to plan. The one thing I really didn't want to do was hide. Like, you know, we had 7 games left. So we had some commitments to our season ticket members who had put money down on the table for games. We didn't want to hide, and we wanted to offer them, we knew that people were going through rough times. We offered them an opportunity to get a refund or to get their money back, or they could use a credit. And a lot of people stepped up and left their money with us, left a credit on account. And that stuff is huge from a business perspective. And so a lot of them even donated the money back. So this year we're going to have every Friday night, we're going to donate 200 tickets back to frontline workers every Friday night. And that's all because of what season ticket holders were doing in the pandemic timeframe. So it's not a fun thing to talk about, obviously, but it's also breathed new life into who we are. So now we have 8 new staff on the team. They've breathed a new life into our office, into the energy of the office. And like I said before, all the metrics are pointing upwards now for this upcoming season. And I think it's a testament to all the work we did over the last year and a half by not hiding, by being visible, by doing the right thing by the people that were doing the right thing by us. So we're in good shape now.
And constantly adjusting too, because, you know, you think about this, when this all started in March of 2020, it's like, well, by the fall we're going to be okay. Then by Christmas we're going to be okay. But it just extended, and you know, changing everything. So you had to be very fluid.
It's still changing now, which is the hardest part about all this, is there's no playbook for it. You know, like when we took this thing over, I had a really good business plan for what we wanted to do, and all that was from the 10 years I had spent previously collecting best practices and ideas and things I wanted to do when I took over a franchise. But you're never trained to deal with the stuff that we're dealing with even today. You know, in the summertime, COVID was tamped way back down. It looked like it was over, right? We were all getting ready to do our things, and masks were getting thrown away. Well, unfortunately, we've had a little bit of a spike here again, and masks are becoming a thing again. So it's constantly changing what your business plan is, and if you're not changing, you're going to get lost. And that's, at the end of the day, I think what we've tried to focus on.
I think what we've seen too from NHL preseason games, the Red Sox the other night, obviously in a playoff you're going to draw, but the Patriots and you know, other professional franchises, people are ready to come back.
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing it from our fans too. People are antsy. People want to get back to normalcy. They want to do things that are fun, and people don't want to, you know, continue to talk about the negative stuff, I think. And it's translated to us, as you said. I mean, it's a great sign to see not only the professional sports teams here drawing, and we kept a close eye on what the Big E was going to do this year, and to see their numbers where they were gave us a lot of confidence that people are ready to come back. You know, we feel we have a real social responsibility to our community in terms of wearing masks indoors. We are an indoor sport. So that is something that we're really pushing, that, you know, just to get back on the ice, at least to start here, we're going to have to wear masks, and it's the right thing to do for our community, and it's the right thing to do for our neighbors, right? So people right next to us. So we're hopeful that that's not too big of an issue, but it doesn't seem to be. Our season ticket numbers are up, they're strong. Our numbers in advance of opening night, it's going to be another sellout hopefully for us, which you know, you kind of go back and forth in terms of, you know, do you want to promote that or not, really, right? So that's a bit of a challenge, because it's against everything we normally do. Everything we normally do is about packing a building. Now you want to do it the right way. So it's a real conundrum sometimes.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to look ahead, why the Thunderbirds are more than just a hockey team to Springfield and the region. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. My guest this week is the president of the Springfield Thunderbirds, Nate Costa. Nate, you've said that the Thunderbirds are more than just a hockey team and more than just a business. How so?
Well, I think it kind of speaks to what we've done in the community, right? We touched on it a little bit. We have, I think, a responsibility to do things that where we can give back, right? Hockey is one piece of our business, but the other piece is doing the right thing by the community. So when players are here, we take a lot of pride in getting them out to a lot of different nonprofit events, but also to a lot of youth hockey events, and trying to do the right thing and give back. So at the end of the day, I mean, that's really a part of our core vision of our business is, you know, the community in general. You can't have success on the ice. You can't fill an arena unless you're doing things for the people in the community, and I think that's a big part of what we do.
We touched on this a little bit, but attendance and season ticket sales have been up the first four seasons. They've risen as you've gone along. Let's talk about your fan base because they are so key. And you know, there are purebred hockey fans here in Springfield, but there are people who just like to get out and go to a game.
Yeah, and that was the goal and the vision for the franchise from the start. When we took over from the Falcons, unfortunately at the end there were only just over 300 full season ticket members, real true season ticket members at the time. And that's a low number for the American Hockey League. You got to have a bigger base. When you have a 6,800 seat building, to create an atmosphere and to create some demand, you've got to have a bigger base, and that was the first goal. But you know, I think to grow that number, we tried to do things that we knew we were going to cater to the hockey fan. We knew if we did the right things with our video, with our production, with our marketing and social media, that the hockey fans would come back and they'd be engaged. But we had to find things that were going to engage other people, like you said. There's people in the community that were looking for a good night out, looking for a fun time. And that's what we've tried to do. You know, all of our promotions are based around that kind of thing. If you see what we do on social media over the last 4 years, obviously there's a hockey focus to it, but we put a lot of focus on just the experience of coming to a game. We pride ourselves on being sort of a mini Boston Garden experience. Sure. And trying to do it the right way and professionally.
Well, the other thing too is you look at fans, and whether you go to Boston, or you go to Springfield, that part of what you do is you entertain them from the minute they set foot on the Mass Mutual pavement outside till the time they leave. It's keeping them constantly entertained, isn't it?
Well, that's the goal of minor league sports in particular, right? Like I can't control the product on the ice. The St. Louis Blues do that a lot of times. So we try to control what we can control, which is everything other than the play on the ice. And we take a lot of pride in that. So, you know, I think along the way there, I think the franchise had kind of stumbled a little bit when it came to the previous organization. And when I came in, I had a real plan on how we could make this work. There were a number of AHL franchises doing it the right way. And like I said before, having really good video, because at the end of the day, we're not on television. So there's really no outlet for us other than if you're in the arena or if you're seeing us on social media. And if you're being seen on social media, my goal was to make sure that it looks professional, that it looks awesome, right? At the end of the day, we want it to look like it's an NHL experience. And that's going to catch people's attention. If it doesn't look that way, then that's the perception of your brand. And I think that was what it was before. You'd hear commercials for games on the weekends that there were no games on the weekends, and little details like that, you know, from a business perspective, I was catching because I was working at the American Hockey League and I was in the market. So they stuck in the back of my head, and those are things that we really try to, you know, put a focus on. Is just making sure that all of our stuff is kind of all in line.
You know, you think about it over the course, and you know, I've lived here all of my life. You know, from the time when the Indians were playing at the Coliseum in West Springfield to the time they moved to the Mass Mutual Center, and different franchises. I remember the days of Jack Kent Cooke when it was the Springfield Kings for a while. That there were attempts to make this work, but those attempts they failed for some reason. What's the difference this time around? Well, and you've touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say that they've like failed over the years because we've had hockey in Springfield for over 80 years, right? So like they were doing something right over the course of that time, and really have to give a lot of credit to Bruce Landon, the person who preceded me, because you know, back in '94 when the Indians left town and they brought the Falcons in, I mean, they did the stuff that we're doing now, and it probably isn't as well known just because, you know, they didn't have social media and they don't have all the outlets, right? But he did such a great job building that franchise. He really saved hockey here, didn't he? Countless times. It wasn't just one time. I mean, Bruce, through the years, being a part of the American Hockey League for a long time, we knew the challenges Springfield had, and Bruce was always, his main goal was always to keep hockey in Springfield. He told me, he would say it all the time, like that was his main goal, and he did it so many different times. And they were doing some of the same stuff that we were doing, but along the way there towards the end, the focus on the business side, he wasn't nearly as much involved. They had a different ownership group, and it kind of just fell off a little bit, and that was the biggest piece of it. It was not, focusing on a lot of the off the ice stuff, because the on ice product was actually fairly good there towards the end. They were good with the Blue Jackets, so it was a tough go there for a while. But I do have to give credit to Bruce, because I wouldn't be in this chair today if it wasn't for his commitment to the city and to hockey here in Springfield.
And you've got the team owned by a consortium of local business people, and you've had great corporate support. You think those go hand in hand?
Hugely.
Yeah.
Our ownership group has been a huge part of our success. Like you just said, we've got about 30 local owners, and they're all locally based, and that was done strategically by Paul Picknelly and our managing partner group. At the beginning of this whole process, it was done very quickly, but we knew that we needed to have the tentacles of our local community business leaders, and a lot of those guys stepped up that have been supportive from the beginning, and that has helped. It's helped immensely in terms of our success. Having that ownership group here, and if I ever go on a meeting to get a corporate sponsorship, usually I'll send an email out to those 30 guys and say, hey, does anyone know somebody there? And more often than not, they do, and it helps open doors quite significantly. And that was the whole mindset behind it, was using those people that are big part of our community to help support the hockey team.
You've also done a lot of work with local nonprofits too. I mean,
Yeah.
you've given a lot back to the community. You're talking about the Pink of the Rink night, but that's only one of the many things you've done with local nonprofits.
Well, yes, and again, going back to the community focus thing, being a part of the league, this is what high-performing teams do. They connect with people in the community, and they use those relationships. Pink in the Rink is a perfect example of that. Bay State Health is a huge sponsor of ours. They're a huge partner of ours. They've been supportive of ours from the start. And we've gotten to get great relationships with their foundation arm, and specifically Michelle Gracie and Kathy Tobin have been huge in building that event with us. But we had a vision for that event from the start, and that first year met with those two, and they were saying, well, we have a lot going on throughout the year. And I said, look, we can make this your October. In March, we could have a second huge fundraiser. We know breast cancer awareness is in October, and there's a lot going on during that time, but why don't we do something to put the focus on when it isn't happening?
Sure.
And that's usually, we focus 6 months out, and now we have a whole nother event that we can bring awareness to, and really put a spotlight on the survivors of that cause too. So it's a way to use our platform to give back to the community, and also to people who they're probably not hockey fans, like these women that are going through this stuff. They're going through some really hard times, but to be put on the ice and to have a spotlight put on their cause and what they've gone through, it's a really incredible experience, and it goes beyond the sport and the business. Like that,
Sure.
that Kathy and Michelle are like family to me now, which is what this is all about. And we've had so many good relationships like that. I'd be remiss if I didn't name all of them, but Square One and what they do, and all the other local charities that we try to support. It's really meaningful to us.
Means a lot too. All right, when we come back, we're going to take another break right now. We're going to look ahead to the Thunderbirds 21-22 season, what fans can expect. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. Pleased to be joined this week by Springfield Thunderbirds President Nate Costa. All right, let's look ahead to the upcoming season. You open at home on Saturday the 16th against your rivals, the Wolfpack. And again, you talked about the affiliation with the St. Louis Blues. You've got to be so excited that you're going to finally be on the ice.
Yeah, it's awesome. It seems like an eternity, 587 days ago, right? But it's great to be back on the ice. It's great to have the St. Louis Blues in town finally. Like, we were looking forward to. We never had a chance to thank the Panthers, who are the previous affiliate here, because the season got cut short. They were great partners as well. They helped us launch this franchise, and they did so much in the community. Their guys were great. But we were looking to have a little bit more success on the ice, and I think that's why we've gone to the St. Louis Blues. Obviously, their pedigree speaks for themselves at the NHL level. They're Stanley Cup champions a few years ago. But they really understand what it takes to win at this level, and why it's important to win at this level. And that's what our ownership group and I really wanted from the start was, to have success at this level, you've got to have a mentality about, getting a roster that it can win at this level. And it's so key to development. Like they see that if you can win and if you can develop your players in a winning environment, that leads to really good habits when they get to the NHL. And that's all we're looking for. Like we want them to invest in us here so they can win on the ice and can bring a Calder Cup to Springfield. But we also want to see them have success at that next level. And it's just great to have an organization that understands that as part of your group now. And they definitely do. It's been this past year and a half, we've had a lot of conversations with each other. We've been talking every week, which is great, but now we get to see the guys on the ice, and hopefully on Saturday, October 16th, we get to start this with a win, which would be awesome.
So what's planned for opening night?
I mean, we're blowing it out like we were known to do. It's been a long time coming. So opening night, we're going to start off like we normally do with a block party at Court Square. We're going to have trailer trash out there. We're going to have a real festival atmosphere. It's going to be a big party. But we've also got some really special things planned in the arena. So anyone coming down, I'd encourage them to get there early. We're going to have rally towels on everybody's seats. You're going to have magnet schedule giveaway at the end of the day. But we're really going to have a full team intro. We're going to have some pyrotechnics in the building like we had in our inaugural night. And we also had a special guest do a really cool feature for us on our pregame ceremony. So I don't want to give away too much, but I encourage people to get in their seats early because it's going to be a real special night.
Talk about other promotions this year. I mean, those have become renowned. All the different things that you've done through the years to bring people in.
Yes, it's, I'd put what we do up against anybody, and I think that's what keeps me up at night sometimes, is just trying to provide as much value to our customers as possible, really our season ticket members, but the community in general. And one of those special nights was the Springfield Isotopes night, which we rebranded the team for one night only last year, or 2 years ago, I guess now, in February of 2020. Where it was a namesake taken from the TV show The Simpsons, which is obviously based in Springfield. And they had a hockey team there, and Mike Scully, the West Springfield native, really wrote an episode all about the Isotopes. And so we ended up rebranding our team for one night only, and it ended up going viral. It was nationwide. And so we're bringing that promotion back. We're going to do that every year. So one night only a year, we'll rebrand our team to the Isotopes. That'll be in February. But we've got a slew of things. In November, our Hockey Fights Cancer Night coming back. In December, our Teddy Bear Toss is coming back. We're going to have some holiday games this year. It's going to be a 2 o'clock New Year's Day start. Going to January, our Throwback Night coming back. And we talked earlier about Bruce Landon. We're going to have another homage to another previous team here, which we haven't focused on, which will be the Falcons this year, which will be really cool. We'll be donning those jerseys on the ice that night. We talked about the Isotopes in February, and then Pink in the Rink is our staple in March, with Pucks and Paws bringing that one back as well. And we have some more stuff in April too, so our Fan Appreciation Night, and we've got a special guest from a old movie that I think fans are going to like right around Masters Weekend. So we're gonna release that as well. He has a nickname called Shooter, so I'm not sure if you have ever seen or know of that movie, but
I do. Yes.
We're gonna have some real fun and some special guests. So obviously a lot of that stuff doesn't surround hockey. The hockey product and the ice will be great, but a ton going on just at our games throughout the season.
You think you're going to have butterflies on this opening night the same way you did back in 2016?
I have butterflies thinking about it. I think it's been a long time coming. I've thought about opening night for the last 587 days. And there were a lot of days where we weren't sure if we would get to that point. So to be here today talking about it, it's going to be a special night. I take the responsibility of running the hockey team here in Springfield really seriously. I know sometimes maybe I take it too seriously, but I do feel like we are the heartbeat of the community, and being able to be back, it's going to be one of the largest events in our community since March of 2020, and I think we're taking that responsibility on as a group, and we're doing everything we can to make this a real special night, and to hopefully give that feeling to everybody that's in the building and everybody that's in this community that we're back, and that the city's back, and that hopefully this is going to be nothing but positive going forward.
All right, Nathan, thanks. Always good to see you.
It's great to see you.
Again, the Thunderbirds open on the 16th at the Mass Mutual Center. You can go to their website for all the ticket information. I'm Dave Madsen. Stay safe, stay well. We'll see you next week.